So I'm Simon Clavier, here is Gilles. So what is TOSIT? TOSIT is an association of the big companies you have seen, but not only companies, there is also... So the members are enterprise, but there is also administration, like Ministry of Economy and Finance, and public organization. And in this group, we have OSPOs, but most of the company doesn't have an OSPO. They only have sometimes just one people involved in architecture and so on, so they have a global overview of what's going on the IT domain. And what are our major goals? That is, share floss information between us, best practices, governance, tools, not so fast. And yes, what's important is a circle of trust. In this association, you can't have IT providers, it's only end users. And that was important for us in order to be able to speak freely. And yes, now, one of our goals now is to create new open source if it's needed and if we can do it, and that's something we want to make progress on. So why is this presentation? So you'll guess. So come on, Gilles.
We need your help.
Yeah. Do some open source washing. That's one of the possibility.
You can say, ooh.
The second one is to get paid for this so wonderful conference. The third one could be, you gave the answer already, to take a video for our family. That could be two.
Hello, Mom.
And the last one is to share win-win recipes. We try to initiate and improve. So we don't vote, but it's not the three first. Each member of TOSIT try to set up recipes to work efficiently with open source ecosystem. And in this association, we are sharing these recipes that could be, we say young, because sometimes it's a try. And we share the tries and we see if it's a good try and if it works. And when it works, we can readopt what the others have done. And it can motivate other people to share their own recipe or build together a new recipe. Do you do the following? So the three members of it are Maïf, which is not there, but Gilles will talk for them. I will talk about SNCF and he will finish with Orange.
Thank you, Simon. So, how Maïf, there are two ways that Maïf wanted to share with us. So first is how Maïf support independent flows projects. They support them by financing developers since 2 or 3 years. So the idea is to ask the developer to choose which software must be helped. So they have an annual budget. So through the vote, they decide using the platform which one is chosen, and they use a platform to be able to found this software. So the platforms that they use are, for example, Open Collective, LiberaPay, and GitHub. And so for the past years, the past 2 years, they selected Play framework, Ikari CP, and AKHQ. So it's the first way that they wanted to share with us. Second way is that Maïf has a real strong strategy to open its own code and to share it. So it begins in 2018, where there were an opportunity on 2 topics that was shared by Maïf. What reinforced this strategy was in 2021 with the AI IT department that adopt the OSS by Maïf initiative, which is a kind of internal manifesto for development of Maïf. Maïf. And so they created Melusine, they created Chapash, which are, perhaps you will see it on LinkedIn. Chapash, I've heard a lot of it on LinkedIn for people that are not from Maïf also, to make vulgarization of AI. And so in 2024, the expansion of OSS by Maïf led them to now they have 13 projects, library, software, and so on, that are in FH2 license and that are available for everyone. You can see them on the repo on GitHub, and so it's a very strong strategy. We are very impressed among Tozit members about what they did on this. So that's why we choose those three presentations, because they are very complementary in terms of what each of the three companies we did around open source. So now we are going to look at SNCF. Yes, I had something, sorry. Why they managed to do that also, how they explain that, it's also because as they are mutualist, so there is this singularity of mutualist DNA that they have inside that explain why it was in their mindset to be able to launch so much strategy around open source their code, and also because in terms of IT there is a research of software quality and they think that it helps for software quality, and they also, in terms of means to help to do this, they launch a budget for people to be able to contribute. So they have a dedicated budget to make possible for people to use time on their working time to be able to do all those things. Now we are going to go to SNCF.
Yeah, so I began to work on open source 10 years ago by SNCF, and I was alone, and I'm not alone anymore since February, because there is Ludovic in the room. And first question is, what can you do alone? You can do very pretty few, I could say. And the first question I said, what do the others? And I was looking for the space where I could speak with other people with the same concern as me, in order to see what was the strategy, what can I do. And so during this time, not I create, but I was an initiative of the creation of two appropriate tools, I would say. The first one is about PostgreSQL, where I generate or initiate a group, a cross-enterprise work group on PostgreSQL. It's the same as Tozit. That is, end users, I want to go to PostgreSQL, and this group is still active and very rich, and we can share a lot. So it was at the beginning about migrate from Oracle, for example, to PostgreSQL. And now it's more about how to better handle PostgreSQL and manage it and use the full capacity of this great software. And the second group is Tozit, where it's the same idea, but on all open source software. And here are two benefits for SNCF. The first one is, there is one I didn't wrote here, but at least you have a circle when you can talk. When someone asks you something about open source in your company and you're not sure, you want to know what could be alternatives, what works, what doesn't work, you have someone to talk to, and that's so important. Second benefit for us was to spread the use of our open source creation, which is a chatbot tool, which is stock, which is now very much used in other companies into Tozit. And the goal is to, of course, make of it real open source software into the community and not SNCF or Tozit anymore. And the second one is the reuse of creation of others. The example I put here is Trunk Data Platform, which is a fork from Hortonworks. And it was made by EDF and Ministry of Tax Office, Tax Office. And now I didn't expect that, but we are reusing this software. And that's great. So Tozit was the thing that permit to do that. And the second slide is other benefits. Sorry. The second is the same approach, but on your core business. 2 or 3 years ago, I met Lucien Balea from RTE, which is a French company, about electricity transport. And they were doing LF Energy, which is a foundation on electricity transport. And the problem was quite the same on the goal, were quite the same as us for railways. That is that you have a network, you are in Europe, you have a regulator, and you have plenty of money into it, and you have vendors and vendor lock-in. And the question was, okay, can we do the same into the railway sector? And this idea worked. And one of the great benefits, what I put here is why doing this Open Rail Association. It's very simple. You spread the concept of make together, which is something we say in TOSIT. We make together in alternative of make or buy, which is what we used to do as big companies. And that is something we're still struggling to raise into our company. Think about this third way of doing. Make it together instead of just making make or buy. And the benefits, there is two. There is one is we have first example of concrete collaboration. So we have a project with PUT and open source. The Swedes have put another project in open source, and the two projects match. That is a connect. And so it is 2 years spared in development, and that's huge. When you see, when you know what costs software for railways, it's huge. And the second benefit is to have a top-level visibility. Because by doing open source in your core business, you raise the interest of the top-level management. And what I've put here to illustrate that is that you have my president, Jean-Pierre Farandou. Next to him is the president of Deutsche Bahn, and they signed last year a declaration about common cooperation on open source. And that brings to what I've put just below. We have now a web page. We didn't make any communication on it because it's still a bit on work progress, and I would like to have it more clearly supported by the top management, but it exists. If you do this, opensource.sncf.com, where we've put some principle. And another thing is there was a very recent press release where there is this collaboration between SNCF and Deutsche Bahn, and the word open source is written in it, and that's very important.
Okay, now about Orange, just a little bit of history, specific history, because we are at OWDoCon. Orange uses and contributes to Floss since decades. Jonas, which is an application server, was co-founded by France Telecom, Bull and Inria in 1999, and Jonas is at the origin of ObjectWeb. ObjectWeb, which was one of the two organizations contributing to OW2, because there is a fusion with Orient Software after to make OW2. So I thank my colleague Pascal de Chambou, which was part of the creation of Jonas. So 1 decade after what happens, there was the launch of an open source governance at the group level, and nearly 1 decade after, 2 decades after, the launch of a community open source program that I lead for Orange France. So I'm on Orange France side, so what I will explain after is on Orange France side. This little bit of history to explain that we are in open source since a long time. So why creating a program? We do Floss, we use Floss, what else? First of all, to decrease software vendor cost. It was one of the two priorities, and also to facilitate migration to the cloud. So our project, like any project, any application developed in a company, needs to have the same level of service that is available for proprietary software. So to generate the possibility of choosing open source. So like for proprietary software, we need external support and expertise. So what I discovered when I came to my first OW2 conference in 2017, when I was creating the program, I was very impressed to discover there were so many external companies that offer services, like this morning Clément Oudot talked about that when someone asked him what is your business model, based on services. And so they were able to support us and give us expertise without being under a proprietary software model. So looking at that, we decided to begin, or not to finance floss, but indirectly we finance floss, because gradually I set up a recurrent budget, which is like a maintenance budget, but cover also expertise, including and this budget is included in the budget of license and maintenance for proprietary software. But to make the difference between those two budgets, we created inside Orange a new accountancy code to be able to track differently the proprietary software expenses and the community open source expenses or floss expenses. So the result today in terms of partnership, software and so on, it's that we have 9 years of partnership with Atos, but it's still, I would say, generalist in terms of support, and it was not sufficient. So the idea was to create little by little since 2016 partnership with niche players that are pure player of open source on specific domains. And today we have the older partnership that we have is with Oslandia, and we have 8 years of partnership with Oslandia. Mainly the projects that we support behind Oslandia are QGIS. Zoo project is both Oslandia and us, because we have direct contributors also. GeoTools is directly supported by us, not by Oslandia. And OpenStreetMap is with the help of also of Oslandia. At least today we have 12 more partnership on top of Atos partnership, supporting around 50 software today. So all this represent several hundred thousand euros per year to support all those software and all those partnership. So this financing flows is, as I've said, is a win-win partnership. Win for Orange because it speeds up studies, because once we have done studies with the Tunisian team that you have met this morning, instead of doing the study alone to say, okay, this tool is better than this tool, but we are not sure and so on. Once we have done a study that is enough detail, we can get in contact with people that help us, that are experts of those tools, to be able to speed up the studies and make them more reliable and also more quicker. We also can give expertise to our project in the build phases, and for sure the most well known is to secure support to run and to operations. So all this for reasonable cost faced to what we have in terms of cost with software vendors. It's win for partners. Its explanation that it might be obvious, because it gives recurrent annual financial visibility, because when we decide to choose a tool and to develop with this tool and to put it in production, in that case, we sign this partnership, which will be a long-term partnership, because the goal is not to say, okay, we take you this year and goodbye next year. No, it's really, we have it in production. We are an industrial company, telco company, so we need to have all this clearly in production and very secure. So it allows to secure project maintenance, and it allows also to contribute to project, because we create some new features. The example that I give the most often is the example of Dockerization of QGIS. When we began to use QGIS, it was a package only for Debian and Ubuntu, and we didn't have Debian and Ubuntu internally. So we have asked Oslandia to develop for us, if it was possible, to develop for us Dockerization of QGIS. So just for you to know, Dockerization of QGIS that is available for everyone today was completely financed by Orange through those kind of partnership. So that's the end. So if you have any question about this return experience or any suggestion, welcome.